Welcome back to another update. This is the update for September 16th, 2020, which I believe is Wednesday already. Wow. Found some very interesting articles this morning, and all of them came from coindesk.com. So check them out if you want. Great website for crypto news. And let's get into it. I'm not going to read this entire article, but this one is really interesting, and it talks about how data centralization is going to end in 10 years. And I do want to read this one passage. Blockchain believers often talk as though today's early adopter use cases, such as cryptocurrency trading and decentralized finance, will lead straight to mass market adoption. As the inevitable killer apps appear, so the story goes, blockchain-based systems will conquer the mainstream. One might imagine that we'll soon all be trading digital collectibles and relying on token-curated registries for accurate information. Governments will lose control over money, and blockchain-based smart contracts will replace court-enforced legal agreements. Uber, Facebook, and the banks will wither away in the face of tokenized alternatives. This narrative is wishful thinking. In most markets, intermediaries will endure for the same reasons they always have. They provide value. The Ubers and Facebooks, and yes, even the banks, tame complexity and produce coherent, convenient, de-risked experiences that no decentralized community can ever match. Early adopters use blockchain-based systems for ideological reasons or to get rich on cryptocurrency speculation. The billions behind them in the mainstream will not. The lock-in power of network effects creates high barriers for alternative economic systems, and the need for trust disqualifies decentralized solutions that are havens for criminals, incapable of effective compliance or vulnerable to catastrophic attacks, which regrettably means virtually all of them today. Truly decentralized blockchain systems will reach critical mass not out of hope but out of necessity. Powerful actors and mainstream users will adopt blockchain as a counterbalance to digital behavior shaped by governments and private platforms. Dramatic innovations such as decentralized autonomous organizations which manage activity through smart contracts will become significant at the endpoint of this process once the foundations are in place. Basically saying like the crypto citadel world, the world of smart contracts, of cryptocurrency and blockchain, more importantly, being a part of all of the government legal processes like voting and all that other kind of stuff, is going to happen, but not because we want to, but because the governments and the powers that be are going to force us to. Super interesting article. It is super long, so I'm not going to read the rest of it, but that is what I wanted to share with you there. And then, of course, because we always like to talk about the Fed, this is from CoinDesk as well. All eyes are on the Federal Reserve rate announcement as Bitcoin fights for 11,000. Basically, this week, the Fed is expected to come out and announce that they're going to maintain their support for keeping our interest rates low for the time being while they pump out a ton of money to keep the markets propped up. That's basically the gist of this. You can read these little bullets if you want, but let's just read the part that I'm talking about. The Fed is expected to keep interest rates unchanged and reiterate its willingness to tolerate high inflation. In other words, interest rates are likely to remain low for a prolonged period, a bullish development for scarce assets like Bitcoin and gold. Markets, however, have already factored in this likelihood. According to Reuters, the focus therefore will be on the Fed's growth and inflation forecasts. So, more Federal Reserve news this week. It shouldn't be as big or even any kind of surprise, really. It's just going to keep piggybacking on the message from 2 weeks ago or now, whenever that was. And yeah, but I mean, the Bitcoin prices are looking interesting today. If we look at the heat map, Bitcoin's the big winner for today. I mean, okay, I guess technically not, right? Because you can actually sort coin market cap by the coins that have pumped the most, like Hyperion. Never heard of this. Very low volume, 40 cents a coin. Never heard of it, but up 50%. Wow, Digibyte, big ups yesterday, but I mean they've fallen so far already. Anyway, let's take a look at prices. I mean, everything's kind of dipping in the red, but Bitcoin did pretty well yesterday. It's almost at 11,000 again. It's almost like it sucked up all the value from the alts. Just kind of a good sign, to be honest. Gold's still trading in the mid to high 1900s. Silver at 27.39 currently. I really like that. Um, that's the kind of the price news. There is one little follow up I wanted to also go over because we talked about him yesterday. The micro strategy of buying Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is prepared to hodl its Bitcoin for at least a century, or so said the business intelligence firm's founder and CEO Michael Saylor in an interview with CoinDesk on Tuesday, shortly after he announced on Twitter that MicroStrategy was doubling down on the Godfather cryptocurrency with the purchase of 175 million more BTC. I quote, "I want something that I could put 425 million into for 100 years," Saylor told CoinDesk. That is amazing. This is, in my opinion, folks, this is the most bullish sign for crypto right now. When companies start buying it in mass like this, that is huge. I mean, we have to kind of reiterate this, but if you're new, they cannot make over a certain amount of Bitcoin. I think we're at, what is the total circulating supply? I think it's like we've currently mined 16 million of them, and at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 million of them are lost forever on people's hard drives, computers. They've completely forgot about them. They've been searching the dumps for them. It's a deflationary currency. And when you've got tech companies now talking about buying it in the millions like this, I mean, y'all, this is why for me I have to be in the club, like it's going to become a point in a time soon. There's going to come a point in time soon where you will not be able to afford a single Bitcoin. I mean, for a lot of people, that's already right now, right? They're almost $11,000 today. And having a single Bitcoin maybe in 10 to 20 years is going to be a really big deal. And that's kind of the vibe I get when I hear about news like this, which is why I talk about it. So let me continue reading. Forget about parking the balance sheet surplus in inflation-prone cash or low-yield bonds or overextended tech stocks, Saylor said. In a market like this, and in the future he said is certain to come, there are only two good places to put excess cash to work: stock buybacks and Bitcoin. It's a radical about-face for a man who 7 years ago declared Bitcoin's days were numbered. So this is what I love. But if you're just listening and not watching, there's a picture of a tweet here from Michael Saylor 7 years ago in 2013. He said Bitcoin's days are numbers. Oh, I gotta click this. Hold on. Bitcoin days are numbered. It seems like just a matter of time before it suffers the same fate as online gambling. Yeah. And then the other tweet from just a few days ago. On September 14th, MicroStrategy completed its acquisition of 17,000 Bitcoin, additional Bitcoin aggregate purchase price of 175 million, and it goes on. But basically huge 180-degree turn for this guy. And here's the best part. So what sparked the change? An unlikely revelation. I went down the rabbit hole during COVID-19, Saylor said, admitting he was wrong to have doubted Bitcoin back in the $600 range. Yeah, no shit, we all were, right? Quote, "I wish I knew then what I know now," quote, he said. The first step in his journey to conversion came from an unlikely source for a newly minted Bitcoin maximalist: the sale of the voice.com domain to EOS creator Block One for $30 million in July 2019. Fast forward to 2020, and Saylor found himself reading up on Bitcoin. He learned as much about crypto as fast as he could. Saylor said he pored over essays by Bitcoin luminaries, listened to Nathaniel Whitmore's and Anthony Pompliano's crypto podcasts, scoured the internet for Peter Schiff's Bitcoin debates with Eric Voorhees, and lost himself in Andreas Antonopoulos' media empire. COVID-19's global business woes were actually a boon for MicroStrategy. Saylor said the firm soon realized it had far more cash on hand than it needed to operate in a newly streamlined virtual first world. Moving away from the dollar is now Saylor's primary concern. He says he can't stand the inflationary risk. Yeah. In Bitcoin, he and the firm's decision makers have found what they deem the obvious choice for the coming century of QE infinity. Yep, quantitative easing. QE, if you don't know. What is it? Well, QE infinity, no? Maybe that's something else. I don't know what QE infinity is. It still sounds like quantitative easing to me, but I have to look that up. That looks like a whole different rabbit hole we can go down another time. But MicroStrategy's primary strategy is to get away from the dollar. Crazy. Wow. I started to cheerfully assign homework to MicroStrategy's executives and directors. Saylor said he staged a series of learning exercises to bring everyone up to speed. If MicroStrategy was really going to move into millions into Bitcoin, then everyone had to be on board. How to go all in. There was a lot of ground to cover, Saylor said, but in 3 months' time, he and his executives had accrued the crypto education and dealt with the myriad legal, custodial, and security issues that he said stand in the way of publicly traded companies getting into crypto. Okay, you guys can read this. It's on CoinDesk. But, he basically got red pilled big time on crypto. And he went all in. And like I keep saying, folks, if other companies fall sweet, think Amazon, Intel, the bigger tech companies, the biggest tech companies, Apple, Google, they start pouring their money into Bitcoin. Jack Dorsey, who I have tons of issues with, he maxes out the amount of Bitcoin he can purchase on exchanges every week. Did you know this? He just buys it as much as he can every single week. You think he might know something that you may or may not know? I'm still incredibly bullish. There hasn't been a single day where I have not been incredibly bullish about Bitcoin's future. Can't say that for all the altcoins, but Bitcoin for sure. Anyway, a little bit of a longer update today. I'll catch you tomorrow. Have a great day. Take care.